Opportunity, a beacon of hope. This narrative is deeply ingrained in our national identity. It's a story woven with the threads of countless immigrant dreams. From the first settlers who landed on these shores to the waves of newcomers seeking a better life, immigrants have been the backbone of this nation. They've built our railroads, staffed our factories, and enriched our culture with their traditions, languages, and perspectives. To deny the contributions of immigrants is to deny the very essence of what America stands for. These newcomers, often fleeing hardship and persecution, arrive with an unwavering work ethic and a burning desire to contribute. They start businesses, create jobs, and revitalize communities. Their stories are a testament to the human spirit's resilience and the transformative power of opportunity. The American story is not one of homogeneity, but of diversity. It's a tapestry woven from the threads of countless cultures, each adding its unique vibrancy to the fabric of our nation. To claim that America's strength lies in its uniformity is not only historically inaccurate, but profoundly un-American. Our strength lies in our ability to embrace difference, to learn from one another, and to build a future where everyone has the chance to thrive. Let's be clear, immigrants don't come here to steal the American dream. They come here to build it, just like generations before them. They come here to contribute, to create, to be part of something bigger than themselves. To say otherwise is not just ignorant, it's a betrayal of the very ideals that have made America a beacon of hope for centuries. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the myth that's been weaponized to divide us. Immigrants are often painted as the source of America's problems, blamed for everything from economic woes to societal ills. But let's be honest, blaming immigrants is easier than addressing the complex systemic issues that actually plague our nation. It's a classic case of scapegoating, a tactic as old as time itself. When unemployment rises or wages stagnate, it's convenient to point the finger at immigrants, accusing them of stealing jobs. But the reality is far more nuanced. The forces of globalization, automation, and corporate greed play a far greater role in shaping our economic landscape than any influx of immigrants. Blaming newcomers for these systemic issues is not only unfair, but intellectually dishonest. Similarly, immigrants often find themselves bearing the brunt of blame for crime and social unrest. Yet study after study has debunked the myth that immigrants are more prone to criminal activity. In fact, many studies have shown that immigrant communities often have lower crime rates than native-born populations. The truth is, fear and prejudice are far more dangerous than any immigrant. The scapegoating of immigrants is a dangerous game. It deflects attention from the real problems we face and creates a climate of fear and division. It pits us against each other instead of uniting us to address the challenges that affect us all. It's time to stop swallowing this poisonous narrative and start demanding real solutions to the very real problems we face. Let's talk about another elephant in the room, or rather, a giant, money-guzzling war machine. The United States spends more on its military than any other country on Earth. Let that sink in for a moment. We outspend China, Russia, India, and the entire European Union combined. Now, some might argue that this massive military spending is necessary to keep America safe. But is it really making us safer, or is it bankrupting our nation and fueling endless wars? The truth is, we're pouring trillions of dollars into a bloated military-industrial complex while our schools crumble, our bridges collapse, and millions of Americans struggle to afford healthcare. We're told it's about national security, but it often feels more like we're prioritizing corporate profits over human needs. Think about it. How many schools could we build? How many hospitals could we fund? How many scientific breakthroughs could we achieve if we redirected even a fraction of our military budget to domestic priorities? This isn't just about money. It's about priorities. It's about investing in our people, in our future, in a world where peace is not just a dream, but a reality. The constant drumbeat of war, the endless cycle of interventionism, it's draining our resources and undermining our moral authority on the world stage. We can't claim to be a beacon of hope while simultaneously dropping bombs on countries thousands of miles away. It's time to break free from the grip of the military-industrial complex and invest in a future where security is measured not by the size of our arsenal, but by the well-being of our people and the pursuit of peace. Section 4. The price of intervention, from Vietnam to Afghanistan. Let's take a hard look at the human cost of this endless war footing. From the jungles of Vietnam to the mountains of Afghanistan, America's history is littered with military interventions that have yielded little more than bloodshed, instability, and a hefty bill for taxpayers. We're told these wars are fought in the name of freedom and democracy, but the reality on the ground often tells a different story. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, these are just a few stark reminders of the devastating consequences of unchecked military interventionism. Each conflict has left behind a trail of shattered lives, displaced communities, and a generation scarred by the horrors of war. We can't ignore the human toll, both on the people in the countries we invade and on our own brave men and women in uniform who are sent to fight these unwinnable wars. The truth is, these interventions rarely achieve their stated objectives. Regimes are toppled, but stability remains elusive. Dictators are removed, but chaos often ensues. And the cycle of violence continues, fueled by resentment, instability, and a thirst for revenge. We need to ask ourselves some hard questions. Are we truly exporting freedom and democracy, or are we creating more problems than we solve? Are we making the world safer, or are we fueling the very extremism we claim to be fighting? The price of intervention is steep, paid for in blood, treasure, and our nation's soul. It's time to learn from the mistakes of the past and chart a new course, one grounded in diplomacy, cooperation, and a commitment to peace. Section 5, 9/11 and the erosion of freedom, trading liberty for security. Remember that fateful day, September 11th, 2001? The images are seared into our collective memory, the Twin Towers collapsing, the Pentagon in flames, the smouldering wreckage in a Pennsylvania field. In the aftermath of that horrific attack, our nation was united in grief, anger, and a thirst for justice. But something else happened in the wake of 9/11. We made a Faustian bargain. We traded liberty for security, surrendering hard-won freedoms in the name of protecting ourselves from an invisible enemy. The Patriot Act, passed in the name of national security, ushered in an era of mass surveillance, eroding our privacy and chipping away at the very foundations of our democracy. Suddenly, the government had unprecedented power to monitor our communications, track our movements, and detain individuals without due process. We were told these measures were necessary to prevent another attack. But at what cost? The erosion of our civil liberties didn't stop there. Fear became a powerful tool, used to justify torture, indefinite detention, and the persecution of Muslims and other minority groups. The very values we claimed to be defending, freedom, justice, and the rule of law, were trampled in the name of security. We became a nation living in fear, suspicious of our neighbours, and all too willing to sacrifice our freedoms on the altar of national security. This wasn't just a policy shift, it was a cultural shift. We allowed fear to become our guiding principle, shaping our decisions, our relationships, and our very perception of the world. But true security cannot be built on a foundation of fear and repression. It can only be achieved when we have the courage to defend our freedoms, even in the face of danger.